Sonoma County, California, renowned wine country and gateway to the Redwood Empire. Each year, thousands of visitors are drawn here to enjoy stunning views and world-class wines. But nearly a century ago, 100 young men from half a world away were drawn here for different reasons. Little did they know of the harsh realities awaiting them or the bonds that would see them through.
On a busy street, not far from Santa Rosa's scenic wine country, a modest building sits. An indistinct backdrop, it goes unnoticed by most passers-by. Yet for some, this small slice of real estate was once a dream come true, a well-earned reward for Sonoma County's earliest Filipino immigrants.
It was a one-story building when they first purchased it. It was very sacred to them, and it was a gift to us.
That was very forward-looking on their part to want to have something, a piece of land and a building to signify their presence in Sonoma County.
They began arriving in the 1920s. As nationals of a U.S. colony, young Filipinos were encouraged by American mentors to come to the U.S. Here, they were told, democracy reigned and opportunities were plentiful. It wasn't a hard sell. Most were from poor farming barrios in the Philippine countryside. Opportunities were few. To help support families, many had quit school in order to work.
He told me that he saw his life being one of riding the caribou and the rice paddies.
Things were tough in the Philippines, and what he was told was that he would have an opportunity to become an American, become a citizen, and to make money and to move up and have a lot of opportunities in life.
Still, the Filipinos' strong ties back home made leaving difficult. In his oral memoir, Early Immigrant, Philip Vera Cruz described the importance of family and community bonds.
Back home, the idea of the extended family even goes beyond the family to the community and becomes a very good attitude of community consciousness, helpfulness, understanding, and loyalty. Oh yes, these are the better traits that we Filipinos brought with us from the Philippines.
Young Inocencio Asuelo had a unique bond. He and his childhood sweetheart Felisa planned to marry. Determined to provide well for his future bride, Asuelo left home to seek his fortune in America. Like Asuelo, thousands of young men, most in their late teens, left behind all they knew to journey to America. Some came by way of Hawaii, where they worked in sugarcane and pineapple fields. Viewed by Hawaiian landowners as an inexpensive and docile labor force, young Filipino men were heavily recruited from the rural provinces.
It was the Hawaiian plantations needing laborers, and so they said the Philippines has a well-developed sugarcane industry, and therefore why don't we just import laborers from the Philippines?
Others sailed directly to the mainland, all with high hopes.
Grandpa tells a story about they put them in the basement or the hulk of the ship and kept these guys down there all the way to America for weeks, and so they didn't see sunlight. And he talks about basically being cramped with hundreds of other Manongs and landing in Seattle.
For most, this was the first time away from home. With few English skills and limited funds, they landed at ports along the West Coast. John Galimba Jr. recalls his father's story.
His mother, all she gave him was like a dozen hard-boiled eggs. So he ate that on the boat on the way over here. He was 1928, he landed in Long Beach. He was 17 years old. Didn't speak a word of English. There was a lot of his townmates and cousins he came with, and he ended up just doing whatever he could to survive.
It wasn't uncommon for newcomers to run into townmates in the places where Filipinos gathered, and true to homeland tradition, they looked out for one another, creating their own sense of family and community in the new country. Ken Tipon recalls the story of his father, Nick.
He had a friend, Terry Tolentino, in Oakland, and if anybody could find him a job, Terry could find him a job. So he packed up and he set sail for Oakland and found him at a local restaurant. Terry said, "Take my job." I thought that was pretty amazing, but that's what happened.
Others, like John Mejia Sr., were not as lucky.
His uncle was supposed to meet him at the boat. His uncle never showed up. So there was a man getting people to go work in Montana. He needed a job. He had no money. So they put him into rail cars, and they went right away to Montana. When he got there, they gave him their food for the day. Basically, it was one meal. And he was so hungry he hadn't eaten. So he went into the bushes and just ate his food, just ate all of it. And so at lunchtime, he had no food, and he was still hungry, and everyone else sat down and started eating. And so I remember him telling me he went into a ravine and just cried. That's how he came to the U.S.
A common goal was to earn enough money to support families back home and eventually return to the islands. Some planned to continue their educations in the U.S. But America's welcome was clearly conditional, leading only to the lowest paying jobs where cheap labor was needed. The path to economic growth, cultural assimilation, and other opportunities was rigorously blocked. Even college-educated professionals found most doors closed to them in America.